Good day, and welcome to another weekend workshop. My name is Eddie, and I have been practicing this Satsang method for 14 years. 14 years ago, I began searching for a system of meditation and yoga that was simple and effective. I discovered Ramashram Satsang, and I've been very pleased with its results. I hope that it will be the same for you. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce the facilitator for today's activities. But first, I'd like to introduce you to this Satsang workshop. Principally, we will learn the method of Satsang, whereby you can obtain peace, light, and love. Satsang is a scientific method which anyone of any experience level can learn. It consists of two words, Sat and Sang. Sat meaning to be with a positive energy. Sat means positive energy, and Sang means to be with. So together it means to be with the positive energy. Meditation is an important aspect of Satsang. It consists of withdrawing our thoughts from worldly objects and focusing on a single thought, whereby our minds become calm, cleansed, and we obtain higher states of consciousness. Inner orientation. The method that we will learn today is a inner Satsang method, and it consists of meditating in silence. An example of an outer Satsang method would be chanting. Group orientation. The workshop is set up for group meditation and group participation. During group meditation, our focus tends to increase and our personal progress on our spiritual path tends to be expedited. Joy and inner happiness. Joy is the eternal longing of the soul. All people want to experience joy in their lives. Through the practice of Satsang, our inner happiness is increased gradually, and ultimately it culminates in joy, which we experience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our agenda for today consists of 3 sessions: the informative session, the practice session, and the interactive session. In the informative session, we will be given a topic of discussion. During the practice session, we will learn a method for meditation or satsang, after which we will practice for a period of time. Lastly, there's the interactive session where you'll be given the opportunity to ask questions, or there will be a panel discussion. So now, I'd like to introduce our facilitator for today's activity. He is a grandson of Guru Maharaj, who is the founder of Ramashram Satsang. Guru Maharaj established a simplified form of yoga whereby anyone of any skill level could practice and obtain peace, light, and love in their lives. Our speaker today continues in that mission, and since coming to the United States, he began to spread it even further by conducting online satsang, which have reached people from all over the world, giving them the ability to charge their homes with positive energy while practicing satsang. He continues to innovate and graciously lends his time to furthering his charitable mission of spreading satsang. He travels throughout India and the United States, facilitating satsangs while maintaining his duties as a husband, a father, and an IT executive. Please join me now in welcoming Brother Sanjeev Kumar.
So hi, Richard, Dan, and Karunakar. It looks like first session. So welcome to Satsang. So and thanks, Eddie. Um, and so I think, as Eddie was saying, we first start by spending a few minutes on what is Satsang and what this practice is about, and what it is. Like, how do you do it? And Then we practice. That's the core of the session. It starts by music. So it's like a transition in. So part of transition in is just a description of what it is, then how we do it, and then we go deeper into the meditation by transitioning through music. It is um, meditation in silence, and you know that doesn't. It should be a natural state for us, but it doesn't come very naturally to us either. Um, so I think the transition in is to talk about what, how, get into like the first stage, which is music, and then get into this uh, silent meditation on light, transcendental light, and and then we transition out with some questions and discussion around the whole process. And so before I discuss how to meditate, and we spend significant amount of time in the practice, because that's what this session is all about. Guru Maharaj, my grandfather, established a nonprofit where anybody and everybody could join in to learn a method that he perfected, and then promoted and propagated through traveling throughout India. And he always, I think, in various different contexts, he says there are some natural things like meditation itself, which I think culturally and the way we are brought up and the way our lifestyle becomes, it becomes almost what should be second nature has become more foreign to us than it should be. So he um, learned obviously from his guru, and the name of this organization, or what he established in 1930, is in his guru's name, Ramashram Satsang Mathura. So Satsang is the middle name, which is the method, which is the destination, and I do talk about in various sessions what that means and why satsang is so important. And I will today talk a little bit about what satsang is, and why satsang. Actually, today the thought that I have come in with is, um, can we continuously imbibe positive energy? Positive energy is sat. Sang is to be with. So to be with positive energy is satsang. Simple. Um, can we be connected to positive energy constantly, consistently, and in an effective way, um, such that one, we become, charged with that, uh, enlightened with that, and um, you know, what happens is when you are connected to a source of positive energy, or you become the source, or you store enough of positive energy, the state that I have seen in satsang personally demonstrated by some of the leaders here, I think, for the lack of a better example, I define it multiple ways, but one of them is that you achieve a state of pure light, love, and peace. And let's just focus on peace, for example. Very elusive. these days. But somebody who is very grounded in peace, uh, so much so that it is very infectious. And that is something very early in my life. I was born in a satsang family, and very early in my life, I met some folks who demonstrated this whole thing that we'll talk about and practice in their real life in such a way that peace, light, and love was um, almost them. So you will meet them and feel at peace. No effort on your part. I mean, not that it's no effort, but it was effortless to a large degree. I as a college student, I remember, um, visiting Tundla, one of my grandfather's disciples, who traveled throughout India in the, I would say, I think maybe till the 80s, till he actually became ill, etc. But so he would travel throughout the country, and all he would do is, tell people about what we will learn today. Um, so, or practice today, because a lot of folks are here who um, know it and practice it and benefit from it. So, Ramashram, Satsang, Mathura. Mathura is just, so Ramashram, Ramchandraji Maharaj, who was my grandfather's guru. So in his name, so Ramashram is like Ram's home. So his ashram, so Ramashram. And Satsang is, I will talk a little more about that, and it's a middle name. And Mathura is just a town or city in northern India where my grandfather kind of settled. And because from the other guru, my grandfather's guru, multiple Ramashram satsangs came out. So he distinguished it with attaching the name of the town. So Ramashram Satsang Mathura is. So that's so now coming back to satsang, and as I was saying today, I was kind of I was watching some video on YouTube, and the thought that came about, and Eddie, I think I would like your input into that, and others as well after this practice, is so can we consistently and effectively connect with positive energy such that we continuously recharge ourselves like a solar cell, um, stores, and when continues to store, and when needed utilizes it. So if satsang is like to be with positive energy, um, you know we continuously stay connected and imbibe ourselves with that energy. Um, so during the meditation, during the practice, we do that, but can we do effectively, outside of that? That's one question. But the real question is, are there blocks? So do we create real or, um, you know, uh, like things that we think are blocks to this effect, to an effective energy flow? So are there hurdles, challenges along the way, and hence energy gets blocked? And that was the topic of this video, like blocked energy in our mind, in our body, in our system, in such a way that we are so out of sync with our environment where this energy is flowing continuously. So being out of sync then causes implications. some fascinating subject. But so satsang itself is fascinating in a lot of ways. So what we basically do here, so I'll get into a how, and then we'll talk a little more about what. So, so we instead of thinking that sun, which is responsible for life on Earth, is 93 million miles, and even from there, that energy is you know in a lot of direct and indirect ways responsible for consciousness on Earth. But satsang concept is that we start with this concept of manifestation, or uh, in yoga terms, dharana, that I am right in front of this transcendental energy. I'm right there in the company of this phenomenal, positive, uplifting, in form of light. So the light is in front of me, and it's entering my heart and distributing throughout my body, and we're becoming immersed in this light. So this energy, this light, is sat, uh, like cosmic energy, which we, so the most positive way we can imagine, we manifest this energy, which is right here, right now with us, and we're kind of becoming one with it, getting ourselves immersed in it. So, okay, what's the difficulty there, right? So some people get stuck in, how do I imagine this? Some people get stuck in like, oh, my mind is wandering away everywhere. So another yogic concept is Pratyahar, which is like looking inwards and concentrating. Uh, so it's not just so concentrating in this thought that we are right in the presence of this light, which is then charging us up, and we're completely and totally becoming, one with this light in a way that um, nothing else exists. So we are now completely and totally the energy itself. So, yeah, it's a slightly radical concept, maybe for some, but for the time that we practice, we think that we are in the presence of this energy, and we are like melting away, immersing ourselves. But the way we think about it is light is in front of us, it's entering our heart, and then from there it just distributes throughout the body, complete every part and pore of the body. And yeah, there's nothing else but this energy. So sat sang is the uh, this method and this destination. The destination is that we just become one with this energy, satsang. Um, so sometimes we understand with things that we understand a little better, or we have seen models, different models or examples or illustrations. So I think it's 10:20. So I'll just very quickly just talk about two simple, very, very simple. So it's a simplified, it's very powerful, but very simplified process. And there, so two simple examples, and we can, after the practice, questions or even discussion about how this energy flows or gets blocked, etc. We can talk through that. So the way I look at how this people, you know, like, so first, our job really is to manifest this amazingly uplifting and positive energy and completely become immersed in it for a short period of time. We meditate in silence for about 15 to 20 minutes. And then add the music, it becomes 35 to 40 minutes. Add my discussion and question and answer or other, open discussion, it becomes 60 to 70 minutes. But anyway, so coming back to, this example, like, can this energy be transferred from a person to you? People say, what? And I'm like, yeah, you could be one. Why not? Because if you filled yourself with energy to a point where it splashes out and you have, like, literally maybe some or maybe no control over it. So if you have anger, if you have lust, if you have greed, I think people who meet you get affected by it. So if you had this immensely, powerful but positive and, like, quote unquote good energy, and you were so filled with it that everybody who meets with you gets affected by it. That's a thought. So what would happen? Everyone who meets with you will be in satsang. And I have personally met with many people in my own life who were like that. So yeah, it's inspiring, and it's something that I feel is a service in itself. So you don't have to do any service really, but you will be serving. That is another nuance of satsang. So let's take a very simple example. You might have seen some um, water tanks in various communities. When I New Jersey to Philadelphia, when I would drive through, I would see one of those. And I mean, so some communities will have a very nice banner or poster or something on, or colorfully. So it's like a water tank that supplies water to that community. So it's huge. I mean, big capacity. And then there are houses which have smaller tanks, smaller capacity. It's elevated. So the bigger tank is at higher elevation than the smaller tanks that it supplies water to. Now, interestingly, I mean, if we oversimplify this, all the smaller tanks need to do is connect to that higher capacity on higher elevation tank. As soon as the connection is established, boom, the smaller tank is filled up. Boom, done. End of story. No, not really, right? You have to make this big tank, you have to have your small tank, then you have to connect it, and then you have to regulate it. So today's topic was actually supposed to be this regulation. Can we regulate this energy properly? Can it get blocked? If the connection gets dropped, high and dry. Anyway, so yeah, it's you know what a amazing simple concept. Higher elevation, higher capacity, and numerous smaller um, tanks could be filled up, and then they could utilize that water for anything they want within the smaller, narrower context. So that is, yeah, I feel that is one good way to show that satsang is pretty similar. Um, anyway, but there is another one my father used to talk about. It's a little longer, so I'll give you a very quick version, and then if we need to go into some of the nuances of that example, then because it actually it's a very as good example as the prior one, or even better in some ways. So think of I these days now I see some traffic lights, or not traffic lights, but street lights that are um, you know um, powered by solar energy. So they have an individual reflector, and that has its own way to orient itself towards the sun when sun is out, stores that energy, and at night that light goes on. So my father, who was a chemistry professor too, apart from in his retirement, he actually was more busy doing satsang. So he used to say that satsang is like this solar, this solar cell where there is a reflector, which has to be oriented towards the source of the energy, and then there's no physical connection, but there is this, more subtle, and this connection where through orientation, the reflector then gets the energy, concentrates it, and then feeds into a device which then stores it for later use. So he, in his, elaborate discussion, he would say the reflector is the guru, and gets the energy and then concentrates it and feeds to you. And now it's up to you to become the receiver. So he has to be like, he's the reflector. He's not the source. He's like, he may feel like a source, but he is actually just taking the energy of the cosmos, directing it towards you. Now, do you have capacity? Do you have absorption capability? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it works. So anyway, so we'll talk more about this, and I'll ask Eddie, about, uh, are there, and actually, I think we all are aware this is easier said than done. I wish it was easy to just, orient ourselves to this energy. We don't even know where the source is. Or maybe we do, but manifesting this energy, becoming a higher capacity container for this energy, and then ability to like just distribute at will or through some regulated form or fashion, will be fascinating things. So anyway, so oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I'll be right back and we'll start the meditation. Sorry about the disruption, but let's get into it. So I'll describe. So I'll describe, you know, how to meditate, and then there'll be music to transition you in. While the music goes on, you just continue to manifest this energy, and I'll tell you how to do that, and then we'll wrap up or transition out through music, and then get into a more interactive session. So, okay. So number one, relaxed posture, very, very important. So it's like so yogic asanas. So this asana would be where I can be still for uh, you know for maybe 20 to 30 minutes. So it's relaxed posture where your bodily movements are minimized so that your mind is not distracted, because every time you move, your mind moves with it. So um, earlier, Lotus Pose, spine straight, chin inwards. I mean, up to you. I just sit on this chair, and feet on the ground, hands on my knees, and just relaxed this way. So relaxed posture, and then eyes lightly closed, because for the same thing, we don't want our mind to be distracted with the sensory input that we continue to get through. And then imagine or think of, actually think it's for real, that you have this immense light source that's right in front of you, right with you, right here. And this transcendental light is then entering your heart. And so it's illuminating your heart. And then from there, like the blood pumps out to every place, every part of your body, this energy also is getting distributed to every single part of your body, and you're completely immersed in this light. So now you're melted away with this light. So mind wanders away, doesn't keep you in this. So this is the only thought. You're not, focusing on your breathing. You're not focusing on mantras. You're not focusing on anything else. You can do that before, after. But while you meditate in silence, you think of this light in front of you that's entering your heart and distributing throughout your body. You're completely and totally surrounded, immersed in this light. Just this energy in and out, everywhere. So let's start. So we just, I hope you all had a good session. I did. And I think we just finished in the nick of time. So if somebody only has an hour, then, we're done with the core part, the meditation itself. Um, before, the rest of the interactive session, I like the free flow mostly, but if Richard, Dan, and Karunakar would like to introduce themselves or at least have a comment or a question, that will be ideal. Um, and then I just wanted to say that, you know, in the two examples, how do you regulate the energy flow, and um, how the orientation in case of the um, um, in case of the second example. um, so some of those could be challenges, but then I think having a capacity in itself is like, okay, can I store energy for later use? And um, what's the difference between a flow of energy and a blocked energy? And I think we can then talk a little bit about that. Maybe Eddie can start on that. Dan and Richard. Um,
Hi. I have actually been before, but about 3
oh,
weeks ago for the first
oh,
time. But
I'm so
I,
sorry.
it's okay.
Yeah.
I only came the once, and I've had to miss a couple of
Oh,
weeks because I
actually,
was.
now that you speak, I recognize the voice.
Yeah,
So yeah, yeah,
it's okay. I
yeah.
wouldn't expect you to.
So,
But that was better than the first time actually, because I kept sort of half sleeping the first time.
all right.
And I found myself. I was sat up in half lotus, and I found myself. I kept leaning forwards,
Hmm.
but I didn't actually doze this time.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so that's something.
That's a step forward.
Yeah.
No, I personally feel, and I tell this again and again and again. I don't know if I exactly know what I mean by that, but I feel meditation should be effortless, effortless to a point where it becomes second nature. So, uh, my grandfather's guru, somebody must have asked something, and he said, people said, like, oh, if I was like all the time connected or meditating, I mean, I'll spoil everything else. Whatever I do would not be, I wouldn't focus on it. I wouldn't, do it right. And he said, no, I think more of it as chewing gum. I mean, you could chew gum and do a lot of things, and continue to work, or listening to music. A lot of younger kids I see, e- everything they do, they want music in the background. So does that help or does that deter? It depends. Um, and Dan, all right. So then you have to hop off. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Um, So, Luz or Eddie, would you, you know, talk a little bit about the question itself, about the flow and the blockage?
I'll defer to Eddie for for this one, and then I'll jump in later.
Sure thing.
So essentially, Sat is positive energy, and Sat is existence. So Sat is everywhere, and it's just a matter of us perceiving Sat, because right now we don't. Because you could say our thought waves are focused on external objects and things that are not of the light. When we turn within and we begin to focus and concentrate on that source, that fountain of energy, or as Sanjeev described as the water tower, the big water tower, the source, the fountain, then we can begin to perceive Sat in this world. Now, to achieve that state of consciousness is what we call Sahaja Samadhi. And anything that is in opposition to that, we may term a mental block. And so, what do I mean by this? When we achieve Sahaja Samadhi and we live in this world, we had mentioned before that we do things like performing action, knowing that we're the non doer, giving up feelings of envy. The idea of something being mine and yours is sort of disappears from the heart, and we remain tranquil during times of happiness and sorrow. So, if one refuses to give up the feelings of envy, that's obviously a mental block. Our thoughts, our mental vibrations become focused on this negative emotion or energy called envy, and so we're unable to see the Sat around us, and we're unable to keep ourselves attached to the positive energy. Now, once we give that up, the opposite becomes true, and that is that we remain in Sat. And so, just in the general speak, we talked about various things before, like gratitude and charity. These are more familiar terms for us. If we practice these things during our daily activities, we are, in a sense, being one with Sat. When we practice gratitude, we recognize that we're the non-doer. When we practice charity, we understand that this idea of this is mine and that's yours, it's not good for us, and we tend to share. We tend to adopt the idea or the spirit of sharing, and so that all of these things around us are meant to be shared. And when we remain generally tranquil or peaceful, or we can say sort of bite our tongue in times of conflict, then we're also practicing tranquility or equanimity. And those things keep us in contact with the positive energy. So these are all things that we know, we've heard of, and it's just for us to take the time out to recognize them as methods for maintaining or keeping ourselves in positive energy, and then to practice them.
So, just does chi that we talk about in the Eastern context, does that have anything to do with this?
Well, yeah, we talk about the you mentioned before the transcendental energy and staying bringing in the transcendental energy or the positive energy. Well, that's the same. So when our mental thoughts are, say, tranquil, and this positive chi comes in. So that's what we call like the positive energy as you're describing it now, or the transcendental energy. And so we experience that. And when we experience that positive chi, everyone says, oh, I feel good, I feel energized, I feel more powerful. And when we do the opposite, where our minds are scattered or we experience negative emotions, then our chi is no good. We say, oh, my chi is bad, I feel drained, I feel tired. So we're not connected to that transcendental positive energy.
So getting greedy. So one more thing is, this monk was talking about, our mind wasn't supposed to, so I mean, we say that natural state is the state of satsang, or where, love, light, and peace is in abundance. Uh, but he was talking about, like, we kind of wrongly train our minds to dwell in the past, something that happened with times ago, um, and let it get carried away to things in such ways. And he was tying that to, um, you know, like making them mental blocks in some ways. Um, and making these things kind of um, take us away from a natural flow of energy, or how we synchronize ourselves with the natural flow versus block ourselves into something. Does that make any sense?
Guru Maharaj just said the same thing, is that living in the past and not in the present will means that we're basically not keeping in contact with transcendental energy. So the thought is that when we keep our minds in the present, then we're attached to the positive energy, our satsang.
Right.
If our minds are looking forward into the future or are remaining in the past, then we become stagnant, and that takes us out of that ability to attach to the positive energy. So we have to be in the present, and in that moment, we experience that connection.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the essence of meditation in a lot of ways is just living in present moment. And once you have the ability to live in the present moment one way or the other, um, you have achieved something, and achieved something significant, right?
Yeah.
All right, your turn, Luz. If you know.
Well, happy Saturday, everyone. I have to say it was very difficult to get myself out of today's meditation. I wanted it to continue.
I
Um,
I can relate with those. That it's I sometimes, like, when you're compelled to, like, speak, and you actually feel completely the opposite. It's just that sometimes is like, it's a good place to be at, though.
yeah, I think after this, I might meditate for an additional 10 minutes, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if I have much to say today. I mean, I'm just sort of processing everything that's been said. I think I think that being in the present moment and practicing equanimity is gets easier as you meditate more, honestly. Like, I don't know that I think it's
Yes, yes.
challenging if you don't have a regular daily or like a regular practice.
Mhm.
I think it's so much more easier when you do. But it's so much more rewarding. Um, it's a good, as you to take you to borrow your words, it's you're in a good place if you can practice those things, if you can, and that's the goal. I also I'm hanging on your words earlier about, how energies can be shared, and not just, I mean, all kinds of energies, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know, um
Yeah.
positive,
Mhm.
whatever, anger,
Mhm.
those kinds of energies. It is so important to, when you're interacting with others, it's important to, I guess, if someone else is bringing energy, a certain kind of energy, to be able to maintain your own and maybe share, to actually change the nature of the energy exchange between you two, could actually require you to take that step to share your positive energy, but to also not let their negative energy affect you. And then conversely, when you enter a situation, to always try and bring good energy with you. Like no matter what no matter what, like no matter what you're going through, if you can, which again goes back to regular daily practice of meditation, so you can maintain a good positive energy. But the energy that you bring can be exchanged, so it's always a good idea to bring good energy to wherever you go. And that meditation will help with that, and to share it. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful comment that you made, I think. We don't
Yeah. So
only have to,
it's
like,
it's
yeah.
a double-edged sword, right? It's like if you have some really negative energies, then you share them. That's like a disservice to people,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And if you have positive energies and share them, that's a service without doing really anything other than just being there. Um,
And it's not hard. I'm thinking of one example actually. I remember when I had to go to the doctor for something, and I had called up an Uber or a Lyft or whatever it was. And I think when I was supposed to be taken home. So I get into the lift, and I might have slammed the door a little too hard. I mean, I just always want to make sure the door is closed. And the Uber driver's like, "Be careful with the door. You slammed it." Like he was really upset. And then like I was like, "I'm so sorry." And then I'm in the taxi and we're driving, and then he proceeds to just complain about everything, and I realized like, "Oh, he's not happy, and I feel bad for that. I feel bad for him." So, I mean, I'm not Mother Teresa, okay? I'm not always like this, but I I did try to just like be positive and like, "Hey, how are you doing today?" And whatever like good thing he brought up, I was like, "That's so great." Like congratulations on that. And gradually by the end of the trip, like there was a goodness in this interaction with this driver, and I felt positive, and I feel like he did too. And I just feel like that's, if you're in the right mood and you can like change the energy situation, and it could be matched by the other person, I think, I mean, it could happen. So, but
yeah,
that doesn't always happen.
the
Just that
the topic that you bring is actually very uh, relevant practically for all of us, right? Because how the interactions can be affected positively by us, and how we can, while we are positive, could be affected by the negative energies of others, and how we can prevent some of that. I mean, that's a fascinating discussion in itself, but for another day, I guess. So Shivangi, Onkar, Warren, any anything before we wrap up?
Namaste, Bhaiya ji. Namaste.
Namaskar.
I'm just thinking about what you guys just discussed about um, being stuck in the past or thinking about future. I think that's a major thing. I think tackling that and being better at that. I mean,
Huge.
satsang.
Yeah, that's the first benefit and advantage of meditation right there, right? Bringing ourselves to present moment is not the child's play. So just if you do daily practice, if nothing else, I think you're making an effort towards that, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The satsang, I feel like, is a retraining of our minds and of
Right.
our inner selves towards like being present in the moment. But then it's also like you've spent all of these years being in the world and being affected by all these other things. So it's always, I feel like, a battle
Hmm.
between, I feel like, you the satsang is giving you those tools to be present in the moment and like really train your mind and yourself, you know, in a
Yeah,
better way. But I feel like those challenges remain that,
absolutely.
because you go back to the world, right? You go back to work, go back to your relationships, and
Mhm.
those, you've lived
Yeah,
a certain way. So
yeah. I mean, you will only meditate as much as your um, time and other things allow. But I think both you and Liz, I think being in the present moment and what company we keep, uh, both are very, very important, right? From a lifestyle perspective too, and where we want to be and how we want to live. Um, yeah. See, what Guru Maharaj says that, meditating and satsang specifically would, um, you know, um, like in a way, slowly make your ability to energize yourself and hence even others eventually, um, you know, that it's an enabling factor. But at the same time, he says like bad company or negative energy or all that is um, the easy way to deplete that. Um, so then the question becomes that, how much control do we have to neutralize or minimize our interaction with negative energy through people, situations, and other things? And that's a constant challenge for us. So I sometimes feel that, having this either background constant connection, so figuring out how would that work, or like even feeling that there is this positive energy shield that I live with. So I'm always with that shield. My company is always the positive energy, and everything else is outside of that. So having that shield, and especially when the pandemic arrived, I actually tried to implement that as I'm living in a shield and a positive energy shield, and I felt good. I felt you know more energized and more safer, quote unquote. Um, but anyway, you know. Um, so, Richard, any wrap up thoughts before we leave?
Hello. I think only that I need to try and form more of a habit, because I get very easily distracted, so I don't always remember to take the time.
Yeah. No,
Um,
no, that's very natural. And believe me, I am more in that camp than a lot of others. And the fortunate thing for me was because I was in a family which was so like, you know, so much into satsang. So I
yeah.
used to get, especially while growing up and in young years when, you know, uh, like, you know, mostly I would just leverage the group sessions that I just landed up into.
Yeah.
And group sessions tend to have a multiplier effect because of the collective energy, which I'm like, this is like looking backwards. When I look back, I feel that um, while I did not have a very consistent practice, and I had a very, very time, like, I twice in my career, I was a workaholic, and I fortunately kind of then minimized that. But so there were times when, for one reason or the other, I mean, having a daily practice would be a big challenge. But fortunately, I always had like enormous opportunity to be in group sessions.
Yeah.
And even if like I'm quote unquote in those disconnected phases, I would somehow land up in a group session. So it was just, I think that was a blessing.
Yeah, thank you. I'll try to make these more regularly, because that might, even if it's only once a week, that's a bit more of a structure, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Regularity.
Discipline, in everything helps. Practice in everything
Yeah.
helps, and I think as you're describing, you're kind of progressing a little in the right direction. And we all do. I think sometimes it's being in the group, sometimes just doing the right thing, sometimes it's being in the right mindset. A lot of times it's like, am I in the receiving mode?
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, there are times when I go to the right place, listening to the right thing, and so on and so forth, but it doesn't affect. And then one of those days I open up, like my grandfather has written books and books and books, and you open up, you read like 2 lines, immense impact.
Yeah.
Wow. It's like, so yeah, you have to be in that mode too.
Receptive.
Right. Awesome. Glad that I was here, and I will look forward to another session with you all soon. So have a good day and have a good week. Thank you for being here. Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Sai.
Thank you.
Have a good day,
Thank you
everybody.
so much.
Thank
Namaste.
you. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Eddie,
Thank you.
Warren, Richard. Namaskar, Omkar.